I am what child hunger looks like in America. I am a 9-year-old boy who hopes a friend invites me to a sleepover so I can have dinner. I am a 15-year-old girl who goes for walks during lunch so my friends won't know I don't have anything to eat. I am a 13-year-old boy who gets into fights at school just because I'm hungry. I was created by artificial intelligence from faces of the 1 in 7 American children who struggle with hunger. Kids you pass by every day but never knew they were hungry.
Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
The story I'm about to share with you is probably a story that I shouldn't share at all, but somebody needs to hear about this. My freshman year in college, I started working for Feed America on a volunteer basis. Wasn't getting paid any money. I just felt like I wanted to give back to my country. If you're not familiar with Feed America, the premise is that there are Americans who are hungry, and that's true. There are plenty of children in this country who don't eat lunch, they don't have dinner, because their parents can't afford to put food on the table. And I'm not talking about homeless children. I'm talking about working class people who don't make enough money to put food on the table. When I first started working for Feed America, my job was just to make sure that people got food to their houses. And this was facilitated by partnering with local churches where people would pull up into the parking lot and they would get a box of food for them and their family. By my junior year in college, I've been working with them so long that they started sending me into what they call behind closed doors, special operations. And I don't mean special operations like a military special operation. I just mean these were special operations. One that I'll never forget is when we went on to a Native American reservation in Oklahoma. Now, the gentleman that I had been working with for the past 2 years, Frederick, was cool. Never had a problem with him. Honorable man. Even though these people were suffering, he treated everyone with dignity. And for some reason, I still don't know to this day, they switched the head of field operations to a named Mason. So we head on to this Indian reservation with Mason as our leader. Set up, start to give out food. Now, to give you a juxtaposition between Frederick and Mason, Freddie, as everyone called him, never, absolutely never mistreated a person. I've never witnessed him mistreat anyone. He was always cordial, always in his conversations with God bless you, always giving people encouraging words like things will get better. We're here to help. Mason, on the other hand, was shrewd, cold, detached. It was just a job to him. The first day we're there on the reservation, not too many people come. And in my mind, that was absolutely understandable. We had to earn people's trust. That day, we only gave out 6 boxes of food. So I decided the best thing I could do was go door to door, letting people know that we were there. We stayed there the entire day until sundown, and then we left. Following day, we come back in a truck. That day, we give out 50 boxes of food. And when I tell you it felt great to help people, it felt fantastic. But that's when Mason started all the grumbling. And quite frankly, the things that came out of his mouth were not only insensitive, but they were insulting. For example, one of the things that he said to me was, these Indians have their own land. I don't know why we got to be responsible for feeding them. They said they wanted their own land. They have it. They need to grow food on their own land and feed themselves. You know how it is. It's not what you say, but how you say it. He could have phrased that differently. He could have said it in many different ways, but he decided he was going to say it that way. Now, that was the first time that I noticed this man, an older man, standing off to the side. He wasn't in line. He was just standing off to the side, observing everything. I noticed him. And in particular, I noticed how he cut his eyes at Mason when he said those words. About an hour passes after he makes that insensitive comment. We've given everybody boxes of food. The line has died down. We're sitting on the back of the truck talking. And mind you, this old man hasn't gone anywhere. He's just over there lurking, looking around. When this old, feeble lady walks up, this woman had to be almost 80 years old. She's using a cane. It's already hot outside. I felt bad for the poor woman, so I walk out to meet her. And I said, ma'am, what can I do to help you? She says, I came to get me a box of food. So I tell her, listen, no, stop moving, stay right where you are. I'll go get it and bring it to you. That's when this look comes across this woman's face. Stone cold. She says, no, I want him over there to give me a box of food. Have you ever had a person look you in your eyes, but you could see that there was something more, like something behind their eyes? I don't know how to make this make sense to you, but what was behind their eyes wasn't exactly what I was physically seeing in her. There was this level of strength behind this woman's eyes, unlike anything I'd ever seen. But looking at her, she looked feeble, ill, sick. And again, she insisted, I want him over there to give me a box of food. Then she says these exact words, you are a good young man. Go over there and sit down. I'll get there when I get there. And so I turned and walked back to where I came from and sat down. And she slowly and methodically makes her way over to the back of the truck, squares up with Mason, looks him dead in the eyes and says, can I have a box of food, please? And surprisingly, Mason is polite. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. He turns, gets up, gets the box of food, jumps back down out of the truck, and goes to hand it to her. As he's handing that box of food to her, she lifts the cane up in the air and says, I'm old, and I don't think I'm going to be able to carry this all the way back home. Will you carry it back home for me? And right there in that moment is when the entirety of the oldness of this man's bloodline comes out, because he says, we're already feeding you. You don't have a family member with a truck or a young man that can carry it back for you. In that moment, I'm looking at him like, what the hell is wrong with you? Again, I offer, ma'am, no problem. I'll carry the food back home for you. I'll be happy to assist you. She cuts her eyes over in my direction, looking at me, and I promise you I'm not lying when I say that it looked like she had this little gold glimmer to her eyes. I saw it for a split second, and it scared me. It reminded me of how you shine a flashlight on an animal's eyes in the dark, how it gives that little glow off. It was just like that, but it was golden, and it was broad daylight. Scared the living crap out of me. The two of them go back and forth, her trying to convince him to carry the box, and him being more and more disrespectful to this woman for no apparent reason. It got to the point that it started to piss me off. And finally, I said, listen, this is enough of this. Ma'am, I insist I'm carrying this box, and where's your house? And I snatch it out of his hands and proceed to slowly, and I say slowly, painstakingly walk about 100 yards up the road, and then she turns right and goes in between two houses down this trail, and she has a little trailer home back there. We get to the trailer home, she opens the door, I put it on the table, and she looks at me and says, son, you are so polite, you are a great young man, and you have a bright future ahead of you. And then she escorts me out of the door and closes it behind her. Now get this, by the time we get back to the truck, another line has formed, we hand out all of our food, and we leave for that day. And right here, in this moment, is where I say all the freakiness and weirdness began. Because when we were pulling off, I distinctly remember that same little old man standing right at the backside of our truck. I remember looking at him before I circled around and got into the passenger side. We're driving away. We're driving, leaving off the reservation. And up ahead, I see him standing on the side of the road. And when I say little old man, 70 years old, there's no way that man ran from point A to point B. I notice it. It registers in my mind as being freaky and weird, but I write it off. Get this craziness. Because we were so far away from headquarters, we rented in one of those little low-end small hotels, a little L-shaped building. We backed the truck all the way up to the steps to where nobody could steal anything. Went inside. I took a shower, relaxed, watched some TV, came back out about 10:30-ish to get me a snack from the vending machine. About 1:45 a.m., I hear Mason screaming through the wall. And by through the wall, I'm laying in the bed. My head is at the headboard. His room is on the other side of the wall behind my head. And I hear him screaming. I'm talking about a man screaming for his dear life. Now, I'm jumping up out of the bed with a tank top.
Yes, this is Paranormal, and I am back. And I want you to know that this story is a members-only story. You can hear it over at IamDogwaters.com. And for those of you who say, oh, the price is too high, I will tell you again, I am in the business of making offers. Yes. One way or the other, I will make you an offer you cannot refuse. Those of you who have bought our books know that I have made you an offer. Those of you who have signed up and abandoned your carts, you know that Byron has made you an offer. Yes. There are plenty of deals to be made, and this is what I do for a living. Come and make a deal with me. Yes. Make a deal with me.